Hello everybody. Today I can find variables given volume by substituting into the appropriate formula and using algebra or the equation solver. Listen, I say it all the time, whether you're the weakest algebra student or you're high honors, I want you using the equation solver at the very least to check. You don't do a lot of algebra in this course. Algebra can be tricky. Keep it simple, get the answer correct. First of all, you need to know your volume formulas. Volume equals length times width times height, and pi r squared height. There's 3 length times width times height. There's 2 pi r squared heights. Rectangular prism, triangular prism, pyramid. Cylinder, cone. 1/2 is for triangle, 1/3 pyramid and cone. Boom, there are your formulas. Sphere is given to you, 4/3 pi r cubed. Once you have them written out, just refer to what you wrote out, make it simple. Let's jump right to number 2. A right circular cylinder has a volume. Volume of a cylinder. Volume of a cylinder, V equals pi r squared height. Substitute the values in. The volume is 1,000, so V is 1,000. The radius is what I'm trying to find. The height is 8. Let's make it simple. Let's use the equation solver, and then we'll go over the algebra after. It's almost always multiple choice. Even if it's not, you're fine. Just get the answer correct. Math up. The equation solver is math up. Enter. Type in the left-hand side into E1, 1,000. Type in the right-hand side into E2. Pi, instead of R, I'll type X times E. Now, we use the top button, so that OK is over the graph button, so we hit the graph button. Before we hit solve, this comes more into play when you have x squareds. I always like to put 10 in. That way, if there's a positive and a negative answer, it knows to go with the positive answer, which will always be the case in geometry. And make sure you hit solve, which is the graph button. Boom, there it is, 6.3, you're done. To do the algebra, to get r by itself, I add or subtract first. There is no plus or minus here. I divide last. I need to get rid of the 8 and the pi. Those cancel. 1,000 over 8 pi. Make sure you do that with alpha x. 1,000. Don't hit the division sign. It's a lot more complicated that way because you have the 8 and the pi on the bottom. 39 dot dot dot. To get rid of the squared, square root. The square root of 39 dot dot dot. Copy and paste to 6.3. Either way, your answer is 6.3. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, though. Get the equation, get the answer with the equation solver. Very recently, a student got a 64 on the geometry regions because they couldn't solve a basic equation. Easier than this one. If they would use the equation solver, they would have gotten a 65. Use the equation solver, eliminate potential mistakes. I'll go over one more. If you want to be fancy, how about you be fancy? Why don't you try and do number 4 on your own, okay? The sphere one. If you want to pause it, do it on your own, great. With algebra. Algebra doesn't work out. Again, there's no downfalls to the equation solver in this course. Keep it simple. Sphere, 4/3 pi r cubed. It's telling us the volume is 576 pi. There's nothing to sub in. It's asking for the radius. So let's use the equation solver. Math up. Enter. The left-hand side is 576 pi. The right-hand side is 4/3 pi r cubed. 4/3 pi, instead of r, I'll do x cubed. Okay, let's put a 10 in there. Solve. To the nearest tenth, 7.6. If I want to do it with algebra, there's a couple ways to do it. I would just divide by 4/3 pi. Divide by 4/3 pi. We can multiply by 3 first. If you know what I'm talking about, great. But most of you are not going to look at it that way, especially in geometry. 576 pi over alpha x 4/3 pi. 432. 432 equals r cubed. To get rid of a cubed, I do the cubed root. To do the cubed root, we hit, there's a couple different ways to do it. I'm going to go alpha window 6, because that's how we do it in Algebra 2. Cubed root of 432, and then I round that to the nearest 10, and I get my 7.6. Use the equation solver, get the answer correct. If you want to do the algebra, great. But if we're looking at this, especially in Regents Review, use the equation solver, get the answer right, move on with your life. That's it. Write down the appropriate formula. If it gives you the volume goes into the left-hand side, and then either do algebra or use the equation solver to find the variable that you're trying to find. Goodbye. Practice. See ya.